Take a look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. And feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. Come together, we come together, we come together. Come together, love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, from every walk of life, every perfect color, in kinship we unite.
That's all the exercise.
To honor all the God in each other. But take a look at the person next to you. Say, Namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love.
All right, that's Mr. David Joyce, everyone. Sitting in for Teresa James, who's out strolling across Texas. With you, no, no, no. Yeah, that's one of my, what's that? Walt, that's what it was. Waltzing across Texas with you, no, no. Yeah, that was good around 11 o'clock. What was her name again? What'd you say? Oh, so welcome. My name's Reverend Mike McMorrow. Believe it or not, I am the senior minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living. And if this is your first time visiting us, welcome. We welcome all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. We're joined today, our musical inspiration, Mr. David Joyce. Yes, let's give him some love. And you can find him on Spotify and all things internet, I'm guessing, so you can support.
Something like that.
Yeah, so support him. You'll see, you'll want to as he gets going here. And we're joined by the wonderful Reverend Kathy Lyons, who is also our animal ministry support minister. So if you're dealing with grief around a pet, she's your girl, so you can give her a call. So what do you say we get started? We'll bring the lights down just a wee bit and take a deep breath together as we come together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course within our own hearts. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith. We find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
So join me, please, as I speak in the first person for each one here and online. How grateful I am to be here today at this center, celebrating the month of gratitude. And so as I recognize that one power, that one presence of God, I know that God is love and gratitude and health, wealth, creativity, peace, whatever it is that I desire. And I'm one with God. I am one with this presence of gratitude, love, health, wealth, love, creativity. So I know that today that I just bask in gratitude, all the blessings that I have. And I feel so grateful and appreciative to be here at this center or watching online anywhere in this world, just knowing right now that I embody that love, that peace, that health, wealth, creativity. I have so much gratitude for everything in my life that each and every day I find some blessing or a multitude of blessings in my life. And so with deep gratitude to be here today to serve, I release my word to the law. I let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. So good morning, everyone. It's the holiday season is pretty much in not full swing, but it's pretty much here. But today, I would like to talk about what is the best time to do something? It's now. Sorry about that. For some reason, my iPad's not coming on, so I'll use my handwritten notes. What's the best time? It's now. Whatever I desire to do, I've realized at the age that I'm at that what's on my bucket list what do I want to do? And I realized that I need to plan for it now. One of my dreams was to visit Europe. And that's been a dream for a long time. Now, I've done traveling, I've gone to other parts of the world, but never to Europe. And I kept, for some reason, making excuses about not going. In recent years, the thought of going on the long flight and some other things. But a couple of weeks ago, I got that clear intention. This is something that I want to do. And so I went online, and I did find a tour that appealed to me. And one of the places I want to go is Amsterdam, because my niece lives there with her 2 kids. So I knew that that was one place, but I would look at different tours and not really know what I wanted to do or didn't seem to be able to make a decision. And I think it was because I didn't have that clear intention. One of the first things for something is to have a clear intention, but then, as Ernest Holmes says, treat and move your feet to go ahead and then make the decision to do something. And I'm the kind of person, I like to take my time with making decisions. I'm not one of these impulsive people. And in a lot of ways that served me well, but I realize that sometimes I take too much time, and as my years on this earth have progressed, I better get in touch with what I want to do. So I booked a tour a couple of weeks ago. I'm going in April, and it was like, yes, this is something that I'm doing. And, there's that song by Perry Como, The Best of Time Is Now, and I'm realizing there's more and more meaning to that song. But when I was Googling that song, I found that there was another song by Paul McCartney that I'd never heard before. I won't sing to you, but it says the lyrics, do it now while the vision is clear. Do it now while the feeling is here. If you leave it too late, it could all disappear. Do it now while the vision is clear. So what I'd like to just share with you, what I've learned, if there's some dream you have that you really desire, do it now, and so it is.
Believe me, I'm on the road this time. Believe me, I'm on a way to find the truth of my heart and a brand new start. I'll stay on track to find my way back to myself. I know in my soul, and I'll never forget to believe in myself and forget nothing less than knowing the truth and receiving the best for my heart. That's the way, I'll follow the way, and though I may misstep, I'll get back on the path. And when I forget, I will have faith in you, and you'll give me no less than your word and your heart. That's the truth. Believe me, what I'm saying is true. Believe me, this is a song for you. I won't get lost this time, and not with trusted friends like mine who keep me on path to stay on the back to myself. I know in my soul there's a path I must walk. I must do the work. I cannot just talk. Joy can be found, for that's who we are. Love all around, so let's head for the stars. I know in my soul, and I'll never forget to believe in myself and accept nothing less than knowing the truth and receiving the best for my heart. That's the way, I follow the way, and though I may misstep, I'll get back on the path. Then when I forget, I will have faith in you, and you'll give me no less than your word and my heart. That's the truth. That's the truth. Thank you.
And at 1 o'clock on Zoom also is the Law of Attraction study group that's facilitated by Michael Carlin, one of our sound people. And if you want to be a member, become a member and share the wonderfulness with the world. Applications can be found in the fellowship hall today. So with that, let's stand for our Declaration of Principles. We believe in one universal spirit manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and in the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
You know the song? I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. I'm feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. I'm feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. I'm feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. My God is so good to me. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. I'm feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. My God is so good to me. My God is so, my God is so, my God is so good to me. So good to me, yeah, yeah, yeah.
David, I want you to stop having so much fun while you're playing here. We're a very serious place here.
Okay.
That was great. Mr. David Joyce, everyone, let's give him some love. And give him some love in the chat there. So if you go back later to our YouTube channel, folks will say nice things about you on there. Yeah, so check it out. All right. So it's great to be with you all here today. Our talk title in this month of gratitude today is We Are One with Our Good. I hope I spelled that right here. Yes, I did. I did not hear. Just saying. It says we are one with or good. Come on, spell check. Help me out here. All right. So this whole month of November, of course, for 12-step folks, November is Gratitude Month. And if you are on Facebook, I've been trying to do 30 days. Actually, I pretty much have made it unless I don't have Wi-Fi, cell coverage, or my phone's run out of juice. So at noon, I'm trying to do just a brief check-in about stuff that I'm grateful for on that particular day. This week has been kind of a crazy week because I had 2 funerals, one on Monday and one on Tuesday. So on Monday, remember it rained on Monday, went down to Inglewood for the funeral of Reverend Gregory Pitts, who was, so his grandmother was a student of Ernest Holmes, African-American lady, Reverend Dr. Pearl Woods, and then his father took the church, and then he took the church. And he had a very interesting stamp on it because he explored male empowerment through getting in touch with his African heritage. And he developed this whole community of really grateful men and women, but mostly men, that we heard from. And he was also an artist. So we just had this, it's very inspiring to hear the impact that a minister can have on community, not just the faith community, but the greater community as well. Also, on Thursday, I went down to the Veterans Cemetery to place the remains of a World War II vet, and which is always a sweet thing to do. When I first got into the construction trades, there were still a few guys working. And I got to tell you, man, the World War II folks cut from a different cloth. And yeah, I mean, they would throw down, even as old men, they would throw down at the drop of a hat because they weren't going to take any smack from anyone. But anyway, this fellow with a great warrior name, right? So his name was Attila in the army, right? And his last name was Kiss, Attila Kiss, right? So it's a great dichotomy within his name. But it was just, it was really an honor to be there. As many of you know, I grew up in the Air Force. And I'm a grateful guy who managed to not be drafted for Vietnam because I was 2 years too young. And so I've just always had a deep appreciation for those who have heard the call to serve, and particularly in the aftermath of our election cycle, right? It just kind of brings everything, wow. So this is, you're seeing all these rows and rows and rows of headstones, right? And these people who have given that last full measure so that we can, vote and live in a democracy where our vote can have an influence on the life that we share. And so it was a week of gratitude and reflection, I guess is what I'm getting at. And but that means all of that by way of saying I wasn't on Facebook for 2 days at the appointed hour. But if you go back, you'll check. I usually get on there at some point. All right, so we're working with gratitude. Today's talk title being "We Are One with Our Good." So we're going to explore what that means a little bit. And so I just wanted to point out that, the science of mind and spirit, is meant to be an optimistic approach to life, a positive approach to life. It's that by design. It is designed that way, right? And it's not just designed by humans to be that way, but it's the observations of human beings who look at life in an optimistic way, understanding that there is some higher power that they may not fully understand, and yet it appears to be demonstrating itself in our experience. And so as people who practice this thing called the science of mind and spirit, or religious science, right, we are called to experiment. We are called to experiment in a rational and scientific way this thing that we call the law of cause and effect. So it is an optimistic, positive approach to life. We are encouraged to explore until we know that the flow of life is always working with us and never against us. That there is, in fact, no one and no thing working against us. Now, I don't know about you, but I can think of lots of ways where that may not be so in my current thinking when I'm really in the soup. Because before we come to know that the world is, until we come to know the world differently, the world can seem to be working against us. Because we've all known times where it feels like there's more month than money. We get in a car accident. We're late for work. We get a health diagnosis. If we're lucky, it's just a bad day, right? But sometimes it's a bad year or a bad couple of years. And we find ourselves living, in time we may even develop a life's a bitch and then you die mentality, right? So has anyone ever thought that way? Or am I the only one? Yeah, in fact, it was kind of a joke at one point until it wasn't funny anymore, right? So, and then one may stumble upon a place like this and hear someone say, there is a power for good in the universe available to everyone, and we can use it. And when we hear that the first time, we'll either say, yeah, right, or I sure hope there is. I sure hope there is. And I know that that's what I was thinking the first time I heard it. Now there's a couple things in there. One is there's a power for good in the universe, so that tells me that there's some power greater than I am alone, which I really needed to know that, because my best thinking had got me into the current situation that I was in, and available to everyone, right? Even me. And I think that is one of the things that really needs to be healed when we start to play around with this thing called the law of life, or the law of cause and effect, is to know that it's available to me. It's available to you. It's available to everyone. And so to think, when we hear there is a power for good in the universe, and we think to ourselves, I sure hope there is, right? Even a sarcastic quip like this one is really all that is necessary to get started. Because we've all been offered solutions before we found this one. But this, if it resonates, has a ray of hope in it. And hope, as Ernest Holmes says, hope is better than despair. And it's certainly far better than a consciousness of resignation, far better than a way of thinking in a resigned way, a consciousness of resignation that keeps us spinning our wheels, stuck in the muck and mire of futility. One moment, down one floor, up one floor. So the idea, let's see, what have I got up here? Oh yeah, so the idea of a world where no one and no thing is working against us can sound pretty good, and it can also be a concept that can be difficult to grasp unless we learn to shift our perceptions on what's going on around us, as that we perceive it as some kind of personal cosmic vendetta Instead we learn to reframe life as experienced in the physical and now move into the metaphysical. That we understand that, yes, we are living on this plane of life, and then we begin to sense that there's something deeper going on. That we begin to shift our focus away from effect and instead focus on cause. And not from a place of superstition where we are counting on beseeching some cosmic potentate to give us a break, but rather a more scientific and rational approach to some higher power, a power greater than we are alone. Now, many people call this higher power God, and yet at the same time, in this new way of thinking, we need to break God out of the box of our perceptions, hence this graphic. So I love that he's determined. I think that would be scary if that was God breaking out of a box. But I like the image, right? That we have to, and sometimes it takes that kind of determination to break out of our old way of thinking, to be open to a new paradigm of life. Yes? Yeah. Now, this word God, again, I love going back to this Campbell quote, and I'm going to keep doing it until I can recite it myself. So God being a placeholder word for this experience that we all share, right? God is a word referring us past anything that can be conceived of or named. Now, this is true about any word, right? So I used the example earlier of tree. Right? So tree is a placeholder word for this experience that we have of this plant that has a trunk and it has branches and it either has needles or leaves and it looks a certain way, it smells a certain way. There's this whole experience that we have around tree that this placeholder in language holds for this experience that we have of tree. Well, the same holds true for the notion of God. And yet, oftentimes, when I first started exploring this, it was like with my knees knocking, because I thought it was kind of blasphemous to think in such ways. And in fact, I even said so a few times in Science of Mind classes. You can't talk about God that way. What do you mean, it? That's so disrespectful. I don't want anybody calling me it. Well, they're not going to call me it because I'm male, so they're going to call me him. Right? But if I'm both the masculine and the feminine as one thing, then it kind of fits. And that it reminds me to really open my mind to expand and to grow and evolve in my understanding of what the divine is. In recognizing each within our own way. See, this is the other invitation. And this is the universality of this teaching, is that each one of us has to come to our own understanding of what higher power means to us. And I would even add that we also have to be comfortable in the uncertainty around that. Because if we're honest about it, we're only going to have glimpses of certainty, where we feel a deep and authentic connection with this living spirit, this unconditional love, the wellspring of love itself that allows us to transcend this human condition and to feel a sense of connection with this experience that is of life that is greater than we are alone. In recognizing there is this higher power and acknowledging that it is way more than we think it is, then we begin to utilize it to effect change for good. Now, to illustrate this, I found this comic. So if you can't read this, the Buddha says, I should have made one of those nobody can depict me rules. They always make me fat. And then Jesus is there and he says, well, tell me about it. I've been a blonde white dude for like 2,000 years. So, once it kind of gets you after a while, doesn't it? You're like, oh yeah, that is kind of interesting. So once we can logically pick through the debris of our current life expression, whatever that looks like, become aware of what is our part, because we do have a part, and what are the outside factors moving us off our center because life happens, we have set ourselves upon a path that moves us from struggle, perhaps even futility, into a life that is more effective in all areas. In romance, finance, career, connection, all is fulfilled in seemingly miraculous ways, but there's nothing miraculous about it. It's just reality in expression. So I've been listening to, as I've been sharing with you as we've been going along here, I just lost it. Oh, Plum Village, a podcast, Plum Village, and it's a conversation between the abbot of Plum Village, which is the Buddhist community started by Thich Nhat Hanh. And this fellow was a student of his, and anyway, it's very interesting. But what I wanted to share with you, there's a conversation about the difference between a historic life and the ultimate life. That we get caught up in the historic life being this life that we live on this plane, which I think was a great way of putting it, because most of us get caught up in the historic aspect. Sometimes we get into scheming and thinking about what's going to happen. We start futurizing, but even that and any fear that's attached to it has its basis in our past experience, right? Versus what they called the ultimate, and how as we work with the historic, that we access the ultimate. And in accessing the ultimate, then we are better able to deal with the historic. Now, how do we do that, right? So we do that through a meditation practice that helps us to focus the mind so that we can get a sense of perspective, that we are more than this body, to have a sense of the transcendent, although in the Buddhist sense it's not quite like that, but in your own meditation experience. And I'm using meditation somewhat cautiously because meditation has become such a loaded word anymore. But even just to be still for 10 minutes, right? Which if you're not used to it, that's challenging enough, right? And if you can't do 10, do 5. No phone, turn off the notifications, right? To just be still and to observe what's going on. Because this often is the way, and it's not really a meditation if you're like thinking. But that doesn't mean it's not time well spent, because sometimes we have to go through the thinking to get through to the calm mind, right? To the deeper mind. That's why you meditate long. At least that's why I meditate longer, because it's busy when I first sit down. So what they're speaking to with this idea, the difference between the historic and the ultimate, is making use of this idea that life can be difficult, right? So remember the book, The Road Less Traveled, that was the one I discovered in my late 20s, early 30s. And I remember thinking at the time that life should be a lot easier than it is. And I really struggled with that. God, it shouldn't be this hard. And yet the first line in that book was what? Life is difficult, period. And then, so it's kind of a secular Buddhism, that book is, I think, thinking back on it now. But one of the truths in Buddhism, of course, is life is suffering, right? And that the Eightfold Path is to take us into, relieving ourselves of those ways of being in the world that cause us to suffer, right? To attach or to run away. So the value in this then is that it is our suffering that is the great motivator, right? So the Western mind, I don't know about you, but I think the Western mind thinks in ways of motivation, right? And I have to say, I usually don't inspire my way into doing things, that things get so uncomfortable that I can't take it anymore, and I address it. Or, actually, if I'm honest about it, most of the time is I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, and then I get tired of being angry, right? Because that's such a bummer, right? And it's okay. So I'm now willing to sit and deal with this, right? But it's not about ignoring anything, but rather embracing all of it, right? It's about bringing light to darkness, knowing that even within light there's some bit of dark, right? It's that Taoist symbol. Michael Beckwith puts it this way, that we all have a vision for life, and he says that pain pushes until vision pulls. This is why we spend so much time speaking and talking and contemplating about what it is that we want, rather than focusing on what we don't want. Focusing on what we don't want is to focus on the historical. And I was thinking earlier, sometimes it's focusing on the hysterical, right? To focus on our vision for life is to invite the ultimate then to come into life, to pull us into our next expression. So the irony then is how this happens. Because when we uncover, discover, and discard ways of living and thinking that no longer serve us, we are naturally pulled and then directed into ways that make us naturally and easily more effective. Now, how does this happen? We come to see that as we identify our human life as the spirit in expression, our human life as our understanding of higher power in expression, not something separate, but a fully integrated expression of life, we come to see that our authentic life, the life who we are, is the life of spirit expressing. That we are the vehicle. That we are the vehicle, not in some egoistic kind of pious expression, but rather just from being ourselves. Right? And really what happens is we become friends with ourselves. We become friends with ourselves, and as we become friends with ourselves, we become friends with all of life. We intuitively learn to love our neighbor as ourself. That what I want for me, I want for you too, and everyone else. This may seem like a difficult task at first, but again, this is a spiritual practice. So we're practicing first accessing the Spirit. For me, that happens most easily in nature, but we live in an urban environment, so even that may be in the garden. Maybe just getting our hands dirty, planting something, right? Doing a little yard work, taking a walk. However that works for you, right? Lighting some incense, sitting on the cushion. Whatever that practice is for you, you get to define that. And knowing that it's not something that's stuck, but continues to evolve. Because Ernest Holmes wrote in, oh, that's right, I don't have this quote in there. There's an intuition within you that knows that you are one with good and that your destiny is certain. And you must listen, you and I must listen, for it is the voice of the divine within you. This is something that the ancients were much more aware of. So they actually believed that that voice that you hear in your head was the voice of God, that thinking voice. And sometimes it was Satan, right? Right? It was the enemy. But as modern people, we don't think that way. But it still is an interesting thing to recognize that there is a voice going on, right? And we can allow ourselves to intuitively listen to it. The inference here is that this power is working in, through, and as this human expression, as you and as me and as all of this expression that we call life. Here on this planet, right here on the surface of the earth, right where we're sitting right now, to the bottom of the ocean, out to the Webb telescope, beyond the beyond, God is. And so we strive to learn how to think as the Spirit thinks, even as we remind ourselves we're working with a finite mind, working with an infinite mind. We do this by communing, contemplating, connecting with the ultimate power behind, in, and through all things. So Eric Butterworth says this, that before we formulate a desire in mind, it is God in us desiring. So the creative urge is within us, that creative urge is the Spirit. Before we have an urge, there is a moving of Spirit in us, prompting us in that direction. So it's really not about trying harder, as a fellow named Father Terry says. It's not about trying harder, it's about resisting less. It's not trying harder, it's resisting less. The power and presence of the living Spirit is alive and well within you and within me. And as we align ourselves to that idea, we align ourselves to the indwelling Spirit that allows us to have an experience of itself by means of our own consciousness. That our heart opens, we move from just intellectualizing everything, that we move into the heart to have an experience of connection, of peace, of serenity, of love, in ways that are not only shifting and lifting the experience of our own life, but the lives of those around us. So let's have a little tinkling, if you would, David. And just take a deep breath with me. And release, I wanted to share with you something Reverend Kathy shared with us last week in our talk notes, that I couldn't use it. And that is the unity prayer. So just put your hand over your heart, maybe close your eyes, just allow yourselves to still a little bit, The light of God surrounds me. The power of God protects me. The love of God watches over me. Wherever God is, I am, and all is well. So as we breathe into this moment, we recognize and know that the light of God surrounds us, that it is in, through, and as us. That we feel a quickening within our heart space, knowing that the light of Spirit is energizing every aspect of our body temple, that we are aligning and attuning with the divine vibration, the divine song of life that is making all the crooked ways straight in radiant good health, that every cell, every atom, every molecule, every cell, every muscle, every bone, every sinew is stitching together, expressing itself as strength, flexibility, vitality within the body temple, that our heart is open to ways of connection and understanding within ourselves and with our fellows, that our relationships are spaces where love prevails, where peace, serenity, and harmony intuitively find ways of expression, that our career paths are fulfilling, have avenues for creativity, and a sense of knowing that the oneness of the living Spirit is expressing as our working life. In this way, we really feel that we are, in fact, one with our good, that we are a light unto the world, and the world responds in kind, in ways that sustain us and fulfill us. Taking a deep breath, releasing in gratitude and confidence, knowing it is done. Together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen.
This I'm kind of thinking about as the other side of gratitude. How can we be that? Felt that there's so much more that I could give before chances fade and time slips away. Lord, could it be me? Could someone like me feel a broken heart? Could someone like me make a brand new start? If someone like you could help someone like me to give just a little more. Commitment begins when convenience ends. It isn't easy to follow through when the rent is due, and your friends in need. Well, someone like you could open up your heart, and someone like you could really play your part. If someone like you could help someone like me to reach a little higher, look a little deeper, give a whole lot more. Well, someone like me could open up her heart, and someone like me could make a brand new start. If someone like you could help just a little more. If someone like me could try to understand, and someone like me could lend a helping hand, if someone like you could help someone like me to give just a little more. Could it be someone like me? Thank you.
David Joyce, everyone, give him some love. Now, is that one of yours?
It is.
Yes, so both songs today were originals. So let's give it up for some more love. Yes, always nice to see creativity and expression in skillful and inspiring ways. So thank you, David. So as, I almost said Rosalie, as Chloe brings up the baskets, I do want to point out in our constant contact this week, we have an announcement and an invitation to practice generosity to a Ukrainian family that's finding its way here to the U.S. Have they made their way here? Are they here yet? At 3 o'clock today. So the details are in there, but we're looking for donations of clothing, of personal items. There's two women. Yeah, one grandmother, two 40-year-old women, and two 12-year-old boys. Right. Yeah, so however you can help to provide for them, if you want to get like a Target gift card so they can, because they're coming here with nothing, right? They have like just no bag. Yeah, just a bag. So no clothing, no underwear, right? No nothing. Yeah, so anyway, if you want more information about that, you can see Amy or myself, or look online for those of you online. Let's just see what we can do about stepping up and helping out this family who came out of Kyiv, I believe. Yeah, they're out of Kyiv. So Sergei's family. All right. So with that, we're going to take care of our own moment of practicing generosity here at the center. If you come in person if you're prepared to share a gift in person, the basket is here at the front. For those of you online, if you could just take a moment. And if you're going to give to the Ukraine folks, just put Ukraine on there in the memo, and we'll figure it out from there. All right. So, go into our offering song.
Spirit gives to me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us.
So recognizing that this basket represents both the heart of the individual, the heart of our spiritual community, the heart of the individual in the many ways in which your generosity finds its way to our center through mail-in donations, through electronic giving, through in-person giving, and all the other ways that you support our center, that this basket represents the consciousness of this of the giver that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. So this basket also represents the heart of this spiritual community accepting these gifts with deep love and respect, as we know these gifts go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only the vision and mission of this center and all centers for spiritual living, but that we are knowing this good is expressing itself in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them. And we are knowing that the planet itself is an expression of the creative impulse of life, the living intelligence of the wellspring of love itself in expression. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in ways great and small. This softens our hardened heart, inspires us, and propels us into ways of living, spiritual living, that raise not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. And that's a good thing. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So please help me thank one more time Mr. David Joyce. Yep. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to those of you joining us online today. It's great to have you all with us. Make sure you say hello on the chat. And let's get to Reverend Kathy up and pray us out, Rev. And we'll see you all next week. Huh?
So right now, as we take a breath, breathing in all the wonderful, loving energy in this room and anywhere in the world we may be looking at this, and just right now recognizing this power, this presence of life, which is God's life and my life now, and knowing right now that because the presence of God is everywhere, because God is all that there is, I accept, know, affirm, and trust that everything in my life is unfolding magnificently. I just feel immense gratitude for all the magnificence in my life, all the love that I have, that I give love, and I receive love, and I just feel that presence of God, and I am so grateful for it. And so with deep gratitude, faith, trust, and conviction, I release my word to the law. I know it is done, I know it is so, and together we say, and so it is. Please stand for the peace psalm.
Let this be my joyous fire.